Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's well and safe. My name is Art, and welcome back to Wrap Your Mind Around This.
Um, Art, what's the name of your channel?
My channel, my channel is Mind of a Leo.
All
That's
right. Just so
that.
the viewers know, it's a good channel. He's got some good videos already.
Yeah.
And then my name is Joe from Confessions from Dangerous Minds. So welcome everyone. Thank you for watching. And today we kind of settled on the topic of depression, and what goes with depression. Quite often is suicidal ideation or thoughts of wishing to be dead. So we just wanted to post kind of a bit of a trigger warning that is what we're going to be talking about on this video. So definitely some sensitive stuff. I have some experience, personal experience with dealing with that. And I will say too, one other thing is, if you are in danger of hurting yourself, even self-harm, there's always the 988 number. I think they did, that's relatively new. I think that's replaced the 1-800 number that they had for the suicide hotline. But then also 911, if need be. Just make sure, just because it's a bad place to be, where your only option, uh that you feel, you're so hopeless and depressed that you feel it's just ends in your life. So that would be my encouragement or recommendation: is if you're not feeling safe, reach out to somebody, reach out to the suicide hotline, 911, if you're really desperate. Arthur, do you have any suggestions or anything on that?
I would just want to tell anybody that suffers from this particular thing that uh yeah, there is help out there, and you're not alone. You're not the only one battling this thing. So without further ado, please, Joe, enlighten me on this. Please share your story, man. This is, again, yeah, very sensitive topic. So again, this is not a light or easy topic to be had.
Mhm.
Um, so
But
take it
I
away.
yeah, I think it's a really good topic though, because some people, I guess one of the myths is that, if you're talking about suicide, that you're going to cause somebody to become suicidal, and that's usually not the case. Um, you don't know if someone's truly suicidal. I guess I'm talking from the clinical side, the clinical perspective, because I did used to work as a psychiatric nurse. And there was that kind of myth that if you ask a patient, "Hey, are you having thoughts of wanting to hurt yourself or end your life?" That would kind of inspire them. But that's not really the case, and you really don't know until you ask. Because you know, I know one of the videos we're going to talk about down the road is stigma, and unfortunately, there's still a lot of stigma attached to mental health, depression, and especially suicidal ideation. So it's sometimes that you feel too embarrassed or too vulnerable to openly share that. Um,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that suicidal ideation is when an individual is or has this obsession of those thoughts, or those thoughts are constantly at the front of their mind, or at the
mhm.
on their mind. Am I right, or
Yeah, I mean,
is that what it means, or can you please like tell me what the real definition is on the ideation? Or I don't even know
well,
if I'm saying it right.
no, idealization, yeah. Well, the way I see it, there's kind of different levels to the amount of suicidal ideation. Uh, some people might just only experience kind of passive suicidal ideation, as in, um, I would like to go to bed and never wake up. So they're not necessarily having thoughts of wanting to hurt themselves or end their life, but they are, wanting to die. And that could even be on multiple levels. It could just be they don't care if they die or they don't have much stake, or to the point where they're kind of wishing for death. But then there's the active suicidal ideation, and that's when you start having those thoughts of actually carrying out a plan to end your life. And that also has varying levels too. Could just be, hey, I'm having these thoughts, but I forgot what the exact scale is called. It's like Columbia Suicide Severity Scale or something like that. It's a clinical tool. So the first bit is just I want to end my life, but I don't have any clear intention, or I don't have a plan. But I'm having those thoughts. And then a step further would be I'm having those thoughts, and I've thought about ways to end my life. Whatever it might be. And then even further is I'm having these thoughts. I want to act on them. Well, I have a plan and I want to act on them. And that's when it's really critical, for intervention. Well, preferably, I mean, there should be intervention before it gets to that point. But that's the point where it's especially important to, like, safety is a pretty big concern at that point. But yeah, so with the suicide, I just, people have different reasons for not wanting to be alive. What I've struggled with a lot is feeling like there's no point to life, there's no purpose. And especially this kind of ties into what we talked about yesterday is not having any gratitude for your life or anything in your life. There's been times where I've just, like when I lost my job, everyone was arrested. It's like, well, why am I living if, I'm not contributing to society, not doing anything purposeful? I just totally messed everything up, and all I seem to experience is suffering. So it's like, why live, But yeah, there's different levels to it, especially just depending on how depressed you are. Is that kind of your interpretation, or what are your thoughts?
I again, I'm no doctor again, and
Yes,
I
disclaimer.
disclaimer, I am
Neither
no
of us.
doctor. When in this particular area, when anybody has any, when I hear any individual verbally say that they are having these type of thoughts or these
Hmm.
feelings, um, I do not take that lightly.
Yeah.
uh, the severity of it, to me, is really really high. And yeah, I it's always a warning to me. So I definitely go into a deeper conversation, more into depth, with that
Hmm.
individual, to figure out what's going on. And again, because I'm no doctor, no professional, I do let somebody know what their with them there, right? That can better
Hmm.
handle a situation like that. Because again, there can be something I say that triggers a person. So yeah, and with that being said, like, what was your personal experience of, I mean, did you have any of these before, or what was your personal experience with
Yeah, I mean,
this topic?
I've gone all the way to plan, intent, and actually act on it. Uh, and a special trigger warning. There's been a few times where I've been hospitalized because of either suicidal ideation or suicidal attempt. Like the first time was, back in 2013, and I was just going through a really rough time. Where I was living was terrible. I was in nursing school and working like 45 hours a week, very overwhelmed, struggling with substance abuse to try and cope with the stress and everything. and I had to withdraw from the quarter from nursing school because I might have been able to barely scrape by, but I was just hanging on by a thread. So I did withdraw, and then um, that I was just so distraught and so depressed and hopeless at that point that a few days after that had happened, I did take a bunch of different substances in the hopes of overdosing. And so my friend took me to the emergency department, and I was blacked out through all of this, so I don't remember any of it. So this is hearsay, but apparently I was being really uncooperative in denying suicidal ideation. And once the medical professionals left the room, I would tell my friend, don't mention anything to him because I want to go home and finish the job. What was that beep? Was that your end?
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. That was
Okay, no, that's fine. I was just like, I just wanted to make sure because if not, I mean, someone's like must be right outside my window with earbuds in. No, okay, all right. But so they put me on an involuntary hold, which means even like despite what I said or did about wanting to leave, they could not let me leave. I was held against my will essentially. But they can't do that because at that point, safety is such a concern that we cannot release this person without something. So yeah, so I've had a few hospitalizations. The other ones were voluntary, but yeah, I've had times where I've attempted or gotten really close to attempting and um, didn't carry it through to the end.
now was that
Um,
did any depression play a factor inside of that period in your experience?
yeah, no, absolutely. Uh, I've been dealing with. I wasn't clinically depressed with clinically diagnosed with depression until like early 2014, which was after the involuntary hospitalization. But and I'm not self-diagnosing myself, but I feel that I've struggled with some amount of depression since adolescence and onward. And I think a lot of that was fueled by my venture into substance use, and which quickly turned into substance abuse. When I was 17, 18 years old, and I just never really found an effective way to cope with the depression and the anxiety and the stress, which I'm thankful for this go around in my recovery because I've just been learning and utilizing so many great coping skills. I mean, not just for my mental health, but for my sobriety and my recovery. So yeah, depression definitely played a huge role into not wanting to be alive.
How
What about your?
I'm 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 me personally, I I am curious to know like how it affected your family and your friends around you. Did that ever like did you think about that? Did it matter? Did it cross your mind? Did it like I'm this conversation has me having so many questions, right? Because these are questions not only myself have that I have, but others may have as well. So like, how did your family cope with this particular topic?
Well, one, Arthur, I'd say those are phenomenal questions. And yeah, there is a ton to kind of talk about and learn about. Um, Kind of with the addiction, I was so selfish in my perspective. I knew, it's suicide is very devastating, especially to close family or close friends. Um, but even just hearing about it, I mean, is really tragic. The hospital I worked at, the psych hospital, one of the techs on a different floor, I didn't really know him very well, but I was familiar with him, committed suicide. and we all heard about it. And even though I didn't really have much of a connection with him, that still was just like, oh man, that's like. But with my family, I can't say how they coped with it, but of course they were terribly distraught and worried and concerned.
I guess I
Not
I guess
about
my
me.
my question, if I may interrupt, I
Mhm.
guess I can reword the question into like, how did your family interact with you in that on those times? How was
That's a
the
real
interaction?
That's a great question. Well, the only family I'm really close to are my parents, and they moved to another state, um, which I think contributed a lot to the depression. So all of my interactions, well, I guess that's not true. My mom did fly in to pick me up from the psych hospital on my first suicide attempt. Uh, she wasn't very happy, but she also had to do a lot of driving. I like she wasn't mad at me, but she was upset. But so it's kind of hard to say for sure, but they just expressed concern and love, and I'm sure there's a lot of other feelings and emotions that they probably did not verbalize to me. But yeah, I'm sure there's quite a bit of stuff going on. Yeah, but even with my friends too, the friend that took me to the emergency department, she was crying, she was incredibly distraught. And even recently, in my one of my intensive outpatient groups, I was talking about this suicidal ideation before I went to jail. And someone else in the group, their brother had committed suicide, and he got very emotional and very upset. So even just bringing that up, like he was sad, of course, for his brother's loss, but also sad that I was having those thoughts and desires. So yeah, it has a very profound effect on a lot of people, more people than you would probably think of or realize.
How was there ever a point where you asked yourself, um, how do I break this ideation? Or again, I think I'm saying it wrong, but
No, you're saying it right.
was there
Um,
ever a moment in that time frame where you were like, your perspective had changed?
Honestly, I would say my perspective. I mean, I've always had, or I pretty much have always had some level of kind of passive suicidal ideation, and just at baseline. So pretty much constantly since adolescence. So during those times, there was a lot of self pity too, and just like a lot of negativity. So I didn't really think, I felt there was not going to be a way for me to kind of get out of that ideation or out of that depression. And I was also so depressed, I just wanted to kind of wallow in self pity. That way, it's like, I guess in hindsight, maybe I was doing that so I could feel justified about ending my life. But honestly, it really hasn't been until like recently, the beginning of this year, where I've really been working hard on my recovery, that I've been regaining the purpose of life. Like I feel there's some purpose, and there's going to be challenging times, but like we talked about last night, those times help us to grow. So it's not just suffering. I mean, you go through trials and tribulations, and I guess also volunteering and doing these videos, not just with myself but with you, which I love, dude. Super awesome. I'm so glad. And hopefully eventually becoming a recovery coach and peer support. I feel like I have some amount of purpose, whereas with nursing, I just didn't get that sense of purpose. And I mean, I was making good money, had like a brand new car, my own apartment. You know, I was I was under the influence pretty much every day, not all day, but after work. So it's like you think that would be satisfying, but it wasn't. I just felt like I was just going through the motions. Uh, Wake up, go to work, give people some pills. And I think I got jaded too from detox and psych, because you see a lot of the same patients over and over and over, because they get discharged, they get better, they get discharged, and their discharge plan is usually pretty terrible. even to the point of homelessness, and you just see them back in the hospital a few weeks later. I mean, so I felt I wasn't really having like I wasn't there was no point to my life. But now that I've been doing this stuff with recovery and doing these videos and sharing my story, I feel that I have some sense of purpose now. I'm satisfied with my life, and I'm happy with who I am and where I am. Even though I might not, even though don't have as much as I did, several years ago, which I think is awesome. So that I've kind of been growing out of that mentality, I should say.
Well, I'm extremely proud of you, and I'm glad that you're here. And material things does don't make me happy. And my happiness only comes from within.
Mm,
And that's what I hear you saying. Your joy comes from within, and you having your purpose. Um, and I am ecstatic when I hear you say that, dude, because um, I think that that's great. And also what I hear you saying is that there's hope, right? There's hope
hmm.
for other individuals that can relate to this topic and to your story, because it's your testimony that I hear that is so inspiring, and it's so filled with hope, and the way you, again, like we were talking about, if there's no light, right, you
Hmm.
don't see no light, you be the light, right?
Yeah, I
you
love
know
that. Yeah, it's such a
you
great
don't you
analogy.
don't have no hope, be the hope, right? And that's exactly what I am witnessing and I hear. And yeah, dude, you're just an amazing person, right? And again, I'm honored to be your friend, and to be doing these videos with you is just it's a privilege. So yeah.
Same, yeah, absolutely, dude. And be careful, you're going to make my head become this big. But no, I really appreciate that. I don't know if I brought it up last night, but yeah, a lot of my kind of optimism and hope and wanting to be alive is inside and self-driven, but it's still awesome to kind of have that verified or confirmed that I'm doing the right things by other people. So I really appreciate you saying that. And likewise, Arthur, I know, I will, and especially the viewers will get to know you and your story more and more as we go on. But from the sounds of it, I mean, you've overcome so much. You've gotten through so many obstacles and challenges, and you're just a good, genuine, strong person. So, and of course, dude, like I said, I love making these videos with you. So I'm super glad.
Yeah, thank you for that. So getting the help that you need was very important. The help for
Yes.
yourself was very, very important. I'm glad that you did that, right? Because this, it sounds like it's something in the mind, and I
Mm,
can relate in a way of me being aware that my mind is so powerful, right? And the
it
narrative
is.
is inside of my mind. The narrative that I say to myself can make or break me, whether that's negative, positive, indifferent, and jaded, right, about some things, right? Again, it's about the perspective and staying in gratitude for myself, that I'm speaking for self. And yeah, it's challenging sometimes to always stay positive and be that in that mind space of everything's gonna be okay,
Hmm.
when everything isn't really okay, right? It's like, how do I
Hmm.
make it okay? When would it actually be okay. And yeah, just to hear you coming from, that those thoughts and that area, is amazing. It's amazing, dude. And I'm yeah, I'm really, really glad you're here.
Me too. And sorry, dude, I don't know why my ticks like today have been really bad. So that's why I'm kind of doing this with my face. I have a tick where I have to kind of touch certain parts of my face, or and it's not like I'm anxious or stressed out right now, but I think maybe talking about this stuff, and I still want to talk about it, but even over the
Yeah,
past few weeks or months, dude, like I don't know why. I don't know if that's like related to post-acute withdrawal or what, but so yeah, I just want to throw that out there. I apologize. I'm not listening or whatever.
I I I know you're listening. I know you're listening, and do you, man? This is I no judgment on my end. I I I'm human.
Yeah.
So are you,
Yes.
right? We're both trying to figure this thing out called life, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
we got it and sometimes we don't. And that's I I like a perspective. I like to have, the mindset and keep my perspective in a type of like, you know, from this moment on type of deal, right? I try to remember that and live my life in that type of moment, right? Like,
Hmm.
if I'm not having such a good day, like this morning, right, I was extremely upset about a situation that had happened
Oh.
and that was out of my control.
Hmm.
And the only thing that I had control over was self.
Hmm.
And I had told myself, you know what, from this moment on, I'm going to start having a good day. From this moment on, I am going to just do the next indicated step, right? And that was
Hmm.
going to a safe environment and doing what I enjoy doing. Um, Although it cost me a little bit of money because I couldn't go to work. But anyways, it was there was it was a situation that was completely out of my control. Now, with that being
Hmm.
said, I had control over my mind, and I was able to change the narrative and to get my emotions regulated and put back in check, and was like, look, anger, you are not gonna like better this situation. And me yelling out at the top of my lungs the F word wasn't gonna change anything either.
No.
So
Sometimes it's needed though, or sometimes it feels nice, maybe just to yourself, or some
yeah.
way to kind of get your frustrations out, because I find it to be kind of detrimental at times to bottle things up. I mean, there's sometimes where, yeah, if like something happens and you're out and about, uh, you want to at least kind of contain yourself. But I think, at some point to kind of find some way to release that. Um, but what about yourself, Arthur? Like, do you have any experience with being that depressed and suicidal, or any family members that have been like that?
I don't have any depression or
Mm,
anything of that sort. Um, I have been really sad about some things, right? Um,
mm,
in my life, to the been so sad to a point where I wanted to give up,
mm,
and I felt hopeless, and I I just didn't want to continue on with struggle, right?
mm,
Because that it was just so challenging. Um, so yeah, that was that's where it was. But to the degree of me having these thoughts and these
Mm-hmm.
plans, and that that is that is shouldn't ever be taken lightly.
Mm-hmm.
And that again, going back to having a healthy outlet, I think is
Mm-hmm.
very, very important. And I do want to stress the point of there being help out there and there being
Yeah.
outlets. There's a lot of 1-800 numbers, there's a lot of hotlines.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, thank you for mentioning some of them,
Mm-hmm.
and if all else fails, please, just like share with somebody, your family or your friends. I would say, for myself, an outlet or a coping skill that I use, and that was very helpful for me when I felt really sad or down. I would literally open all of my blinds, all of my window, get as much as sunlight in my home as I could, right? I
Yeah.
would force myself to get up, force myself to get ready, get dressed, get out of bed, even though I still felt sad about
Mm-hmm.
different things, right? And after, me validating my emotion, and
Yeah.
recognizing where it came from and why that was, and just being valid, right? I still did my normal thing. So it didn't get to that level. So those are some skills, and strategies that I've always implemented,
Mm-hmm.
in those in that time of um, my life where life showed up and it was kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because those it's inevitable. People are going to feel sad. People, it's um and others have or and others are clinically diagnosed with
Mm-hmm.
depression, right? So I would want to encourage those individuals again to um, get help, seek help, let family or friends know. All else
Mm-hmm.
fails, there's a great number that everybody knows, and it's 911.
Yeah.
It will direct you in the right area.
Well, I think that's
So,
why they made the 988 so it's easier to remember,
okay.
other than the 1-800 number. But yeah, I agree though. I think treatment, I mean, I agree. I encourage people, if you are struggling with depression or especially thoughts of wanting to hurt yourself or end your life, talk to your doctor, and follow their recommendations. There is treatment available. There's psychotherapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy. There's medications, and sometimes you kind of have to work with your doctor and medical professionals to find out what suits you best. But I also agree too with letting friends and family know, so that way they can support you, and be there for you. But yeah, there's so much. There's so much to talk about and so much stuff. But I guess the last thing I'll say is, self care. Yeah, I agree. Self care is so important, especially during those times where you're down or depressed. Um, Pretty much the
Was
times that
that
you need self
something
care the most are the times where it's the hardest to do.
when you found yourself in those times? How easy was it for you to self care? If it was easy, question number one. And question number two, I have two questions. What self care remedies did you do? Like, for example, I would self care, right? I would take a bath, and I'm no small man, but I would sit inside of a bathtub, right? Because it's relaxing. So I would try to
Hmm.
stimulate all of my senses, right? I'll put on um, some some relaxing music.
Hmm.
I would light some scented candles.
Oh, nice.
Um, I
Yeah.
would, put bath bomb and I'll have like some orange, like, or tangerines, right? Or
Oh,
some
interesting,
chocolate
huh?
to stimulate the my taste buds and stuff like that. And
Mm.
I would just decompress in that way. And that would be like my self-care, or a way that I use to decompress whenever I was feeling down. And so so that what and what about yourself?
Um, well, really quick, I think kind of what you described. I don't know if it's cognitive behavioral therapy or just kind of just a technique in general, but uh, grounding, using your senses to kind of bring you back to the moment, that mindfulness. I think that's great because you're activating your smell, your taste. Because you said you eat the yeah, music. I mean, you're stimulating everything, dude, which is great because it really takes your mind off of the past or the future and kind of puts you in the present moment. Honestly, like it's hard to say, dude. You have great questions this evening. I mean, you always have good questions, but especially tonight, dude. I guess just kind of forcing myself to do, maybe not force is the not that's not the right word, but making myself do something. And usually once I can
I would
start
say
doing
willing.
something,
You were willing. I'm sorry, but
no,
I
it's
would
great.
like
I
to.
actually,
I would like. I would like. I hear you saying you were willing to do something. And now, what were you
yes.
willing to do, Joe? Because this is interesting. I love it.
No, yeah, I like that. That's a great reframe. I think for me, exercise has been a really huge component. I mean, for me, it's the best antidepressant. I mean, I'm on an antidepressant and have tried others, and by far, exercise has been the best antidepressant. But of course, I use that alongside treatment and therapy and medication. So that's a good one. Something that I used to do, I need to get back into guided meditation or just meditation in general. There's that deep breathing or like forced square breathing, some sort of thing where you're focusing on your breath and like consciously controlling it. That can also be a really good mindfulness technique and ameliorate depression and anxiety. But what I guess the most important thing I've learned lately is that social connection. I mean, I have been such a loner and isolated so much in the past, but I've been finding out that social connection is so helpful. Again, not just with recovery or mental health. I mean, your whole life.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Again, um, I am a I'm a social butterfly. And I enjoy being around people, lots of people,
Mhm.
crowds of people. Um, I I get my cup filled that way, and it keeps me happy.
Mhm.
And and when I don't have that, that's when I notice things get off balance a little bit, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah,
I need
absolutely.
people. So yeah, I totally